Beautiful. Oh, hi there. You just caught me cooking up a wonderful selection of restorative practices, resources for schools. Good to see you. So last video, we looked at the use of the individual conference script, particularly with early year. Oh, good one, Brian. Just walk in while I'm trying to film something.
Restorative, Bill.
Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
So last time we were together in Restorative Storytime episode 2, we were having a look at using the individual conference script. And what I neglected to mention then was we were using a modification of the restorative questions that we call the early years restorative script. Now, Jane Langley was the fantastically, amazingly intelligent creator of the early years script, which is inside the new book, which I'm reading from today. But Jane was also lovely enough to co-write the grab and go circle time kit for teaching restorative behaviour with me. So today we're moving up a notch on the restorative practices continuum, and we're looking at a set of skills that we use in a level of restorative work called small group conferencing. Today in our case study, we have the story of two testosteronic Year 9 boys who are about to go the biff on the school oval because there's been a little bit of tension created by two soccer games being played really close to one another. Now, there's a young teacher called Jess in this scenario. Jess would be in her early 20s. Now, Jess is the person who sees things about to go south with these boys, and Jess has got a couple of things working against her. Now, number one, she doesn't know the boys. She hasn't taught them directly, so she has to start afresh as far as relationships goes. Now, secondly, before you go berserk on this one, just hear me out. Jess is young and she's female, and that can cause issues when working with middle school boys. But I deliberately picked a young female character here. And I picked a young female character here who is incredibly skilled with the restorative script and who also understands middle school boys really well. And hopefully what is demonstrated in the way Jess handles this situation is that she will do a much better job than some 6'4", knuckle-dragging, over-masculine male who approaches these boys and goes bunta. And just creates another level of cortisol and adrenaline for the boys to deal with. So I was very deliberate in picking a young female to play the character. So let's get on with the case study. You'll see it's a very clever use of the the small group conference script, which is in the book. But you're also going to see Jess use a whole lot of other skills around calming upset minds and overactive amygdalas, and bringing, like I said before, levels of adrenaline and cortisol down. So the boys' thinking can move from their primitive parts of their brain back into the neocortex, where kids can actually think about what they're doing and respond to restorative questioning. So buckle in, relax, here we go. The case study is called Turf Wars, and it's from A Practical Introduction to Restorative Practices in Schools, which, by the way, you can purchase from my website. Okay, here we go. Jess is on yard duty when she overhears angry words between four 14-year-old students who seem to be arguing in the space between two makeshift soccer pitches. Jess can see two of the four boys, Dominic and Andrew, edge closer to one another with their chests puffed out. Dale and Ryan, two other boys, move in behind them. "It's going down the hill!" yells a boy from a few metres away, and the multitudes on the oval smell conflict and a crowd begins to form. Jess sees this and knows she has to get to the boys fast before Dominic and Andrew do something that they don't want to do. Jess walks quickly and directly toward the four boys. "Hey boys, can I see you for a moment, please?" The four boys look suspiciously at Jess as she arrives. "Hi boys, thanks for giving me a moment. I'm Miss McKay, the English teacher, and the PE teacher here. What are your names?" The boys, looking surprised, begin to mutter their names. Dominic and Andrew don't take their eyes off of one another for a moment. Jess shakes each of the boys' hands as they introduce themselves to her. She says, "Thanks boys, you'll need to help me because I'm sure to forget your names at some point. Boys, I noticed what was happening over here. You all looked pretty uptight. I want to help you sort this problem out without anyone getting themselves into trouble. What's happening?" Dominic said, "Oh, no problem, miss. We were just talking about who might win the World Cup." Jess straightens as her face takes on a slightly more serious expression. "Dominic, you and I both know that's not true, so please, what's happening?" Dominic says, "These jerks kicked our ball away when I rolled into their game." Jess says, "Oh, thanks, Dominic, you just reminded me of something important. The rules of this conversation are, we speak respectfully, one person speaks at a time, and we tell the truth as we saw it. If you can't follow these rules, I'll refer this problem to the grade level coordinators, and it'll probably get bigger than it needs to be. I think we can keep this problem small. What do you think, boys?" Jess looks to each of the four boys for a response. Dominic and Andrew look at each other through lowered eyes and both nod in acknowledgement. Jess knows that most boys this age, even the really tough ones, don't actually want to fight, and only fight when they believe there's no other choice or their dignity is at stake. Jess says, "Do those rules make sense, boys?" She makes eye contact with each of the boys to hear that they've heard those rules of engagement. Then Jess says, "So Dominic, sorry for interrupting you. Can you please start again, but without any name calling, please?" Dominic rolls his eyes and clicks his tongue, all secondary behaviours to deal with the low-level embarrassment that Jess is calling on the fact that he said the other boys were jerks. Dominic says, "These young, fine men kicked our ball in the opposite direction when it went onto their pitch. It was the second time today and we're growing rather tired of it. Was that respectful enough, miss?" Jess, grinning, says, "Thanks, Dominic, that was on point." She then turns to Andrew. "Andrew, thanks for waiting. You've been patient. What's your take on this?" Andrew says, "Well, we're sick of their ball coming into our game. They need to learn to kick straight." He turns and spits on the ground. Jess chooses to ignore that for the time being. "So Andrew," says Jess, "you kicked their ball in the opposite direction when it came onto your pitch." Dominic, interrupting, says, "Twice, miss." Jess assertively says to Dominic, "One at a time, thanks, Dominic." Dominic grunts. Jess turns back to Andrew. Dale, the other boy, the other one of the two boys, says, "Can we just go back to the game, miss?" He and Ryan have been slowly edging away from the conversation towards the game, which has resumed in the meantime. Jess, smiling, says, "Boys, stay with us, please. You both seemed keen when this looked like it was about to turn into a fight. I'd like you to be part of the solution. You both look clever. I'd like your thoughts in a moment about what will fix this." The compliment seems to work as Dale and Ryan take a step closer. Jess then turns back to Andrew. "So Andrew, you've been kicking the ball away instead of giving it back to the boys." Andrew says, "It's not just me, miss. Heaps of people have done it." Jess says, "Andrew, seeing I've got you here, can you tell us what you were hoping would happen when you were kicking these guys' ball off in the opposite direction?" Having realised that teenage boys, when you ask them what were they thinking, is a touch futile, Jess has found that asking the question, "What were you hoping would happen?" generally gets more thoughtful answers. Andrew's quiet for a moment, and then he replies, "Oh, I don't know. I was just hoping they'd be more careful with their kicks next time, maybe." Jess says, "Well, now, Andrew, that we're having a chat about it, what do you think about kicking their ball away now?" Andrew says, "I don't know." Jess says, "Did it make the situation better or worse?" Andrew says, "Worse, I suppose." Jess says, "Who's been affected by this?" Andrew, motioning towards Dominic and Dale, probably these guys in their game. Jess says loud enough so that everyone hears, "So Andrew, you think that these guys in their game's been affected?" Andrew says, "Yeah." Jess then says, "Well, that's a gutsy admission, Andrew. I wish all the kids in this school would take responsibility when they get it wrong like that." She then says, "Which school rule's been affected?" Andrew, looking confused for a moment, says, "Respect." Jess says, "That'd probably be the one, Andrew." Jess then turns to Dominic and Dale. "Boys, how's the game been affected?" Dale says, "Well, we've had to go get their ball every time they've booted it away. Some of the other boys are really pissed." Dominic nods in agreement. Jess is aware that some of the heat has gone out of the issue after Andrew has admitted that he's made some goofy decisions. And then she says to all of the boys, "So what'll fix this?" Andrew says, "Oh, we'll just give them their ball back when it comes into our game." Jess turns to Dominic and Dale. "How does that sound, boys?" Dominic says, yeah, suppose we'll do the same. The four boys are all looking slightly more relieved and they're obviously keen to get back to their game. Jess is then motioning toward the other students playing soccer on the separate pitches and she says, boys, who will tell the other guys about the plan to return balls to the game if they come onto the other pitch? Ryan, speaking for the first time, says, we'll tell everyone to just give it back. The boys all nod in agreement. Jess concludes, so the agreement is that we give balls straight back. Dominic gets a wry grin and says, yes, miss, we all need our own balls. The other boys snigger while Jess lets the comment go. Jess then says to all of the boys, boys, does this agreement need to be recorded or written down, or do we just leave it as a verbal agreement? Dominic says, I think we'll be all right, miss. We don't need it written down. The others nod in agreement. Then Jess says, boys, what's a fair way for a teacher to respond if this same issue starts happening again? The boys think for a moment. Then Andrew says, whoever does it gets a yard detention. Jess says, well, yard detention certainly is a possibility, but if it happens again, you boys will be asked to take part in a conference, perhaps a more formal one to deal with it. If you boys stick to what you've agreed here, hopefully it won't come to that. The boys nod. Then Jess says, thanks boys, I'll make a note in staff bulletin that you've all agreed to be respectful of each other's balls from now on. The boys are smirking. Jess looks deliberately confused. Humour is a very good sign, considering where this situation started out. Jess then says, before we finish, is there anything that anyone wants to say? The boys remain silent. Then Jess says, thanks for sorting this out like the sensible fellas you are. The boys return to their games. So, got some questions for you that you might want to ponder in groups as you chat about this. Question 1. What are the advantages of Jess's approach over some 6'4" testosteronic male who walks in and says, what are you boys, hands off each other? No, get back, get back. If you touch him, if you take another step forward, I will put you in detention and you will not see the yard for a week. So how is Jess's approach perhaps better than something like that in this situation? I want you to have a talk with each other about what Jess did in those very first moments of engaging those boys when Andrew and Dominic were chests out, ready to go ding-dong. I want you to focus on the language she used, and if you understand affect, Tompkins' 9 innate affects, I want you to have a chat about how she used affect, surprise, startle, to get the boys into a different state immediately. Now, here's the one that always causes some contention. Jess uses some humour with the boys. It's a little bit grotty. More accurately, she goes along with some humour that I think Dominic begins. Now, this example was a touch smutty and will no doubt draw condemnation from some of you, perhaps it deserves to, but I want you to have a chat about Jess's decision just to go with that bit of humour. Controversy is fine, just as long as you disagree respectfully with one another. And the last thing I want you to look at is you would have picked up that Jess tactically ignored some secondary behaviours from the boys. She chose not to say anything about the sarcasm from Dominic. You might remember him going, well, miss, these fine young men walked into our game, and then she also chose to let it completely go when Andrew spat on the ground in front of her. Didn't even give it any oxygen at all, she just went on. What if Jess had spun on Andrew and said, Andrew, that's disgusting and I don't want to see that again, thank you very much. How might have that changed the trajectory of the conversation? How might have that changed things? So there's plenty here to chew the fat over in groups. So thank you for joining me for Restorative Storytime episode 3 on small group conferencing. Stay tuned, in a couple of weeks we'll go one notch up on the restorative practice continuum and have a look at the next part. Enjoy your day.